My sister and Janetta, they were friends from the moment they met when we moved in the neighborhood. And like I said, you should go there, Mr. and Mrs. Hatch's house, carry the newspaper there. And then they had things too there. They might have fundraisers, especially their senior year, with back there where they lived on the water. And they were, this particular Saturday, they was crabbing and all. But the bottom line was he was our family, part of our family, because they were family from the relationship with my sister. And seeing him grow up, and for those years, my brother and I carried this paper to the house. So to see this whole thing when it happened, and then at that point, from the time I graduated from high school, I stopped going to the games, you know. And that year, after they got into the playoffs, so I never went to a game over the course of the year. And I didn't go to the Hampton game, okay? I didn't go to the first Chronicle game. But I went to the Dinwiddie game, and then I was up there at Danville. And to see them do what they did, it was inspiring for us. And like I said, it brought a lot of people together. And again, to see Steve to do what he did when he originally put this documentary together is powerful. And for me, and I tell people all the time, when you've been in the community and you see the people that you touch, and like I said, when Mike and I started coaching from the football standpoint, we were just 19 years old, and they were 12, and been out of Lake Kelly probably 1 year, but we still love playing football. So this is the closest thing for us to do was to get back in and start coaching. And then once that point, doing start coaching, we realized it was bigger than just a game. A lot of the kids that we had on our team from the neighborhood, they were single family homes. And then we became at 19 years old, not knowing it, okay, they were looking up to us. And it pretty much put me on my side in the community where they got from that into football, education, entrepreneurship, public speaking, and all these things now when you see, when Steve having events, his gospel shows or whatever, I'm going to support, you know, because he showed me the love. We was on the phone talking the other day about this, and pretty much tears came in both eyes, and I had it on speakerphone. My wife was hearing it. I said, see that? Okay. He said what he said, that even though we were 19 years old, Mike and I, we were like fathers to them, okay? Big brothers probably, but like fathers, because what we brought to the table. And then when you see them blossom and do what they're doing, okay, when it's all said and done, I tell people all the time, you don't have to tell nobody what you do. Your work speaks for itself. Yes. Your legacy speaks for itself. And just going back to Al, just remembering him as this nice, quiet guy. He didn't make a lot of noise coming up, big guy. And like I say, when he started playing football and when this thing happened right here, it brought the community together. It brought the whole area together. And then years later, and what Steve is doing now, I know it's going to go to something special. That old saying, just be patient about what you're doing and how you do it. But I mean, the hard work has already been done, and you're just getting better. And like I like what he said, and he talked before about when he was looking to pay people to put his documentary together, and then he ended up learning how to do it himself. Okay, and it might have depended on that person, but that old saying, once you learn how to do it yourself, guess what? The sky is the limit. And I just want to share that, and I commend you. I'm proud of you. You make me feel like, guess what? When I was just a young man, not knowing what I was doing, I just had some thoughts. Most important of all, Mike Easton had a plan that, hey man, we're going to go out there. We're not playing football anymore. Mike went away to Delaware State for 1 year, okay? But he always worked, because he was from a single family home. But even though his dad was in his life, I got to give credit for that. He always worked when he was in high school. And you had a few of the guys that, and like I said, we might have worked up to football season, okay? but guys like that, there was few of them that they worked during the course of going to school and whatever sports that they were playing in, all right? And that was to help his mom out and her situation all, and that was just a powerful thing. You look back at that day of what we did and what we brought to the table, it lives on. And he's a product of it, and I appreciate you. Love you, man.
Love
Just
you,
keep doing what you're doing. It's going to get better. And he's ready to do a compliment shirt on me.
Oh, really?
And I got a story to tell.
That's right.
And I just want to share that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, good evening.
Steve, I just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Al Bonnie Hatchett, that was my first cousin. Okay?
I know that.
Yes, so Al Bonnie Hatchett is our first cousin. Yes, he was a gentle giant.
That's right.
On the day that happened, I was a 17-year-old myself, and that was a devastating moment in our lives. The Hatchett's, all of them are gone on as well, but Miss Hatchett, Al Bonnie's mother, is my mother's sister,
Wow.
and she's 90 years old now.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a blessing in disguise. It's a healing process for all of us at this time, but I do want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts
Thank
that
you.
have continued his legacy, which is, like you say, it's going to pour over to, like you say, God works in mysterious ways.
Yes.
You never know the impact people have on other people's lives. We were brought up in a way to treat people like we wish to be treated,
Yeah.
and you know, you will reap the rewards. And now we're at a place in our lives, and thank you again. Thank you. God bless you. God
you, sis.
continue to give you the strength, the understanding, and the patience to do what you want to do, and to carry on this legacy. And thank you again.
Oh,
Put you out like that. Even put you out like that.
don't start singing, Mama. Don't start singing, okay? I'm in church, right? We in church one day, right? So look, I'm in the lobby, y'all, right? And then, cause they passing the mic around, I heard my mama singing, and she didn't sing, right? She singing, and she walking up to me. I said, hold on, wait, I said, Mom.
I just get so excited.
I could. That was the funniest thing I ever seen in my life, sis. My mama's, she taking over the church with the fun.
But I'm gonna be real quiet this time.
No, you good, Mom. I'm just messing. I love you, Mom.
I just want to let y'all know that my son, I really appreciate him. He's a good young man, and I'm just so proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray in the Lord that it's going to go further than this what he's doing. And I know Hatchet is having a time. So Steve is having a time here. He's
My
with
friend.
him all the time. We talk about him all the time. And Coach, he was teaching my son and brought him up, and he just values him. He really did. So I'm just so proud of him and proud of him taking care of him and doing for him.
Love you, Mom.
So son, I love you.
Love you too, Mom. You already know.
And Lord knows everything. He's gonna take care of everything.
Already.
So
I
it's
receive
in
that.
his hand.
That's right.
All right.
Love you, Mama.
I love you more, baby.
Yes, my name is Yolanda Stoner, and we go back to high school. We are that class between 80 and 83. We are the class of 83 of Lake Taylor High School.
That's right.
Not LTH. I don't know where they came up
No.
with that. We are Lake
I'll be putting
Taylor
on
High
the sometime. Forgive me.
School.
I'll say forgive me. I'll be putting up there sometime because of the
but
school.
we gotta let them know. We gotta keep
Yes.
we gotta keep that S on there.
I got you covered.
Yeah,
We'll do moving
because
forward.
That's what we were.
That's right.
So
I received that.
And I want to say that, like I said before, Al Hatchett was a friend.
Yes.
My grandmother took care of him. You know, and she used to babysit him when he was.
I
a
know
little
you're
boy.
telling me.
And also, at Lake Taylor, I was one of the ones that had an elevator key because I was pregnant at Lake Taylor, and I had my son in 1981. And Al used to sneak on the elevator with me. They gave me a key. You weren't supposed to let people on there but the teachers. But they didn't care. They just, he came up and went. He would come around that corner. I got to get to the 4th floor. We got to go to science class. He knew where I was going. I think he used to just hang out just to get there. But that particular day, when that tragedy did happen, I was at VOTEC. And we got the word after we were leaving that it had happened. And I know for a fact that, it was detrimental to not just him, Tony Grady, and all of Lake Taylor. Coach Morrow, because Coach Morrow didn't care who sat in his car. He was parking on the grass so everybody could sit in there and, just have fun because he loved the students. And Lake Taylor was the bomb. That was the place. That was the place to be every day. Anytime somebody would go and they, had any problems, we had support.
Yes.
And like again in your documentary, it showed about the pep rallies. They were awesome, and I think that is what brought us all together. And I'm glad you're doing this documentary because that was a friend.
Yes.
That was your teammate. That's family. Lake Taylor High School, we were a family.
Yes.
And back then, it wasn't a whole lot of trouble going on. You didn't have the things that they have today. So it was love there. You can have your arguments, next thing, get on somebody else's bus, you have your little tiff and get back on your bus and go home.
That's right.
And that was it. The next day we were friends. We were still eating lunch together.
That's right.
We had fun. We didn't have guns and shootings and things like that. So we want to bring and show that love back, and I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, sis.
This is my brother Steve right here, and I'm excited to be here to support him. And this is the true meaning of keeping your brother's keeper's legacy alive. This is amazing what he is doing. I got my son here with me supporting. He's a football player himself. He knows about your teammates are like your brothers. Me and Steve, just good company, man. He's doing something great right here. And I know it's going to be bigger than what it is. It's a true testimony of a miracle. It really is. I'm excited to be able to support him on his first event to come. And congratulations once again.
My name is Walt Green, and I am from Norfolk, Virginia. I ran cross country and track at Northview High School, which earned me a track scholarship to Virginia State University. However, I am an avid football fan and have watched over 50 years of high school football in the Tidewater area. In 1969, I watched Northview's Larry Stepney score a plethora of touchdowns en route to becoming an All-American. In 2019, Stepney became the only Norfolk athlete in any sport to be inducted into the Virginia High School League Hall of Fame. In the fall of 1982, my senior year at Virginia State, my dad called me and told me that a Lake Taylor High School football player had just died in a car accident. He also told me the other details related to this tragedy. Al Hatchett was also a team leader and one of their best players. So obviously, the team was hurting and full of emotion. So they decided to dedicate the season to Al. But the Titans lost their next game to Kickertan 7-6, despite outgaining them by 350 yards. And their record was 0-2-1 after 3 games. However, they won their next 3 games over Maury, Cox, and Granby, and next on the schedule was their arch rival, Northview. my alma mater. Ironically, that year, my roommate at Virginia State was a former Lake Taylor football player, Derek Banks, and I told him that Norview was going to end their winning streak. But first, a little background. Norview and Lake Taylor were rivals in all sports, but the football rivalry was off the chart. My sophomore year, they painted a huge red L and T in the middle of our football field. Then, someone went to their school and painted Norview all over their sidewalks. Anyway, Lake Taylor were district champions in 1973, led by Super Bowl champion Tommy Graves, and were also district champions in 1976, led by Super Bowl champ famous Amos Lawrence, who rushed for 411 yards in a high school game, and later became the second person in NCAA history to rush for over 1,000 yards in 4 consecutive seasons, while at North Carolina. However, Norview had won 4 of the last 5 district titles and was the team to beat. But Lake Taylor was clearly on a mission in honor of their late teammate Al, and whipped Norview 25-7 to move into first place with 3 games left. I told Banks that that team was special, and I was going to check them out the next time I went home. 3 weeks later, I went home, and by then, Lake Taylor winning streak had grown to 6 games, and I watched them play the #1 team in the area, First Colonial, a perennial powerhouse. Both teams had won their district, but the game would determine the regional playoff pairings. This was an exciting game that ended tied at 24, but Lake Taylor clearly outplayed First Colonial. Also, Lake Taylor had some very talented players, but the best player on the field that night was number 5, Steve McArthur, who scored 3 touchdowns and had close to 300 yards of total offense. McArthur was named Player of the Week for his outstanding performance. There is a familiar saying that everyone knows: in big games, big players make big plays. And the Titans were going to need a lot of big plays, because next was the regional semifinal against the nationally ranked and 2-time defending state champion Hampton Crabbers, who had just tied a state record with 35 consecutive wins. Ironically, their last loss was in 1979 to Norview in the regional semifinals. Also, their coach, Mike Smith, recently won his 500th football game to become only the 3rd coach in the entire nation to win 500 high school football games. Anyway, Lake Taylor upset Hampton 17-14 with big game Steve McArthur scoring the first touchdown and making a game-clinching interception. McArthur was featured in the newspaper and said he was inspired by Al in that game. In the regional final, the Titans smashed First Colonial 23-7 to advance to states. In the state semifinal against Dinwiddie, Tony Grady and Fonzo Wiggins scored on long runs, and big game Steve McArthur sealed the win with an interception. In the state championship game, Lake Taylor lost to George Washington Danville. However, the loss was moot compared to all of the adversity the team had faced that year. Also, it is worth noting that the Lake Taylor fan following was so big that the team became the first Norfolk school in many years to meet all of their expenses from gate receipts. And their band was so good, they received a standing ovation from the George Washington Danville crowd. The 1982 Lake Taylor Titans Miracle season belongs in Hollywood. Ironically, another team with the nickname Titans became an award-winning film, Remember the Titans. And it was also very ironic that their 1971 journey went through Norfolk, Virginia at Foreman Field, where they beat Wilson High School 36-12 in the state semifinals. In concluding, I would like to commend Steve McArthur for doing this project, and hopefully this inspiring story will end up in Hollywood, where it belongs.
Hey, my name is Keith Conan McNeil. I'm a 1981 graduate from Oscar Smith High School in Chesapeake, Virginia, the place that I like to call the house that Kenny easily built. Probably my main interest in high school was playing football, playing split end and cornerback. You know, I just loved the sport, just with a passion, had a passion for football. Me and Steve met in the 70s. I forget exactly how we met, but me and Steve, of course, just grew up as good friends. Man, he was one of my best friends in my neighborhood, and we just, one of the biggest things we had in common, just a love for football. I knew that Steve was gonna be great, you know, playing football, and he was just an outstanding football player, you know. Mainly quarterback is what I saw him play, but I also know he played some other positions when he was in high school. But Steve was just awesome, and I just realized at an early age that Steve had the talent to just be a great football player, which, of course, turned out to be true. I left Virginia in '82, and I didn't get a chance to see Steve play in high scholl, but I just knew the gifts that he had. I just knew Steve was going to excel, and obviously he did. He just turned out to be a great football player. I just wish I had the opportunity to see him play. Done a lot of reading about him, and Steve was just great, man. It just made me feel awesome, just seeing him go from the pros, you know, to high school, and I think he even played college. One word to describe Steve was accurate. I mean, me and Steve used to go out and he used to throw the ball around. I used to run some pass patterns out there, and Steve, man, everything was pinpoint. But accurate is the word I would say that really describes Steve. To me, I'm a retired soldier. I'm also a retired government contractor. Living in San Antonio, Texas right now.
Good evening. My name is Terry Kelly. I attended Lake Taylor High School, and I graduated in 1976. I played on the football team, and I was a cornerback. I played cornerback in my junior year, and my senior year I played linebacker. I was a starting linebacker and guard. Mike went away and played football at Delaware State for a year. In some kind of way, you know, things didn't work out. He came back home, and he applied for that same apprenticeship program at Norfolk Shipbuilding Dry Dock Corporation, which I was had gone my first year after high school. So Mike was accepted, and sometime during the spring of 1977, Mike came over to me. We were good friends. We hung out together, and said, "Terry, man, I got an idea. I want to start a football team in Compostela, and I want to call it the Pros." I said, "What?" Well, we all played football, and he went away for a year, and we still had a love for the game. So I said I had no problem with it at all. And so we sat down and came up with a plan, and the first thing we had to do was what? Come up, raise some monies, because you have to buy your equipment and all the other things that go on with having a Little League football team. And the city of Norfolk was not issuing out equipment anymore. So whatever new teams came into the league, you had to buy their own equipment. So Mike and I, we put up a plan. We had fundraisers and also put flyers out, because we also need to have the kids that live in the community be a part of this special thing that we were doing. So Mike and I, first thing we did was we went out and we asked other people that started teams before to get their input and recommendations on things that we need to do. We had to go down to the city of Norfolk and get all the information that was required to start a football team and play in the city of Norfolk League. And then also, we also had to go out and find sponsors to help us raise the monies that we would need to buy this equipment that we also would need to play on the fields on those Saturdays and also during the weekday. Then we also went to churches and just put the word out in the community that we was trying to do something special. And to my understanding, it had been a while since there had been a Little League football team on this part of the Southside. There are always teams in Berkeley. Berkeley had plenty of Little League football teams, but on the Compostela side, the South Side, up in Compostela and Compostela Heights in the field, it's been a while since we had a team. So it was awesome, a great experience that we put this thing together, and we took this concept and idea and brought it to life. But it was very involved, and also too, we had to also get the parents to realize that we had something that would help their kids out, help the community out. So there was just some of the steps that we had to go through as far as starting a football team, a Little League football team, and also letting the community know what we were all about. And our time at Lake Taylor also helped us as far as being former Titan players. So that really helped out too, because again, when it was all said and done, the things that we learned at Lake Taylor on the football team from the coaches, we brought back to the community. And again, Mike and I, we were 19 years old, okay? Young men, had been out of school for going on our second year, been out of high school. And with Mike, like I said before, being at Delaware State, he had a better understanding of, on a big level on college football, the organization, how things ran. But what we did pretty much went and just did what we thought was best, speaking to people in the community, and also talking to other coaches that had teams, in the past. My brother, who was a former Lake Taylor player, Eugene Kelly, had a few years before had his own Little League team. So I went to him and spoke to him about, giving us some insight on what we need to do. And then, like I said, Mike also went out and talked to different people. And it was a process wherein it was not only our idea, but we brought other people to help us out with the insight of putting this thing together. So it wasn't just about us, all right? We knew we needed help because, again, we was doing this, taking on this challenge for the first time. I was the offense coach, the offensive coordinator, and on defense, I dealt with most of the defensive backs. So I was pretty much on the offensive side and the defensive side Mike was a defensive coordinator. Mike dealt with most of the offensive linemen. So we pretty much had a little bit on both sides, but I called the offensive plays and Mike called the defensive plays. And when I was at Lake Taylor, my first 3 years, as far from JV up to my junior year, was when I was a defensive back. I also was on the offensive side. So I learned a lot of things from the coaches teaching us about the Houstonville and what a quarterback should do, what a wide receiver should do, and also what a defensive back should do. And Mike pretty much did the same thing on the defensive side as far as being with the linemen. And we all brought it together and pretty much when it was all said and done, we pretty much had a little bit of both offense and defense. But when it came time for calling the plays, I called the plays. I worked with the quarterbacks and the running backs, the wide receivers. I taught them the plays on which route they had to run or which play it was, whether it was sweep right, sweep left. And on the other side, Mike would take the linemen and teach them about the trapping for our pulling guards, or when the defensive ends would do a stunt, or the linebackers would do a stunt. So we pretty much had it working together, wherein both of us did a little bit on both sides of the offense and the defense, but it worked out well because, again, we both played positions from high school that we pretty much took what we were taught when we were in high school and Mike from college and brought it back and taught these young men on the different positions of the game. And so don't forget now, I'm 19 years old. And when we decided to start this team and we had our first trials, you have the quarterback, you say, who wants to play quarterback? You had a group of guys go over there and the other different positions. And so the guys was throwing the ball and they doing different pass routes. And as we looked and we were noticing the guys throwing the ball, and this particular young man stood out. And he just picked it up, the different routes that we taught them to throw the passes to the wide receivers. It was just something about him throwing the ball. And then it was something about him picking up the routes and throwing the routes to the guys who was going out for the pass. Steve McArthur stood out. And not only did he stood up, he pretty much, in the beginning, to me, he separated himself in our first few practices as far as becoming our quarterback. And it was something about him, to me, he had a gift. And sometimes you hear about people where they would just have gifted with their talent, and it's not all about just the talent itself, but they just have a gift. And so when we put our eyes on Steve, and he was throwing the pass routes in the beginning, he just stood out. Give me an example of some of Steve's uphill battles, or even more, problems that he may have caused the team. All right. And I look back many, many years ago, and I always talk about how it was just something special about Steve that stood out. And like I said, he would come to practice and he would throw the ball and put the ball on target, call the right plays. And then there are other times where Steve wouldn't show up to practice. And we asked his teammates, where's Steve at? Okay. And a lot of times, they try to cover for him. Steve, in one case, he said Steve was out there throwing the ball somewhere else, which was not in practice, so he was not in the right place at the right time. And so after a while, we put up with this situation, or him not coming and missing practices. But we also realized too, at some point, we thought he was going to be our leader. And the way he would throw that ball. We just had all our minds set up that, hey, this is the guy that's going to lead us. But over a period of time, you can't lead if you don't show up. Okay? You can't have followers if you're not there to lead. And over a period of time, we had a problem where Mike and I, we discussed this. Man, what we going to do? Okay, Steve is here, then he's not here. But the other players are showing up. And he's supposed to be our leader. He's the quarterback. And after discussing it for a little time and also letting Steve get away with not showing up to practices, okay, we decided it was best for the team that we had to cut Steve. And I remember that day, Steve came to the practice particular day, and he came up and get ready to, put his equipment on and get ready to start throwing the ball and practice and everything. And I went over to him, I said, Steve, you're no longer on the team. You don't show up to practice, or you show up to practice when you want to show up to practice. And we can't be a successful team if we don't have the leader here like everybody else is. And it's hard for good followers to follow someone that's not a good leader. And so, he went on and left that day, and he was upset, okay. And so we went on, and Mike and I did what we had to do. We had our football practices like we normally did. A few days passed, Steve come over and said he was sorry, he wanted to get back on the team. And had tears in his eyes. And Mike and I, we talked about it, and we discussed it. And what we said, okay, well, now, you just can't tell us that you're sorry. You need to tell your teammates that you're sorry and really mean it. And so he went up in front of his teammates and said that he was sorry, that he would never miss another practice. And that was the last time we had a problem with Steve. And he ended up becoming that leader that we saw in him. The plays that he picked up. And not only did he pick the plays up, he also encouraged his teammates on what they can do and what they can be, and also help them with the different plays if they were having problems from a quarterback position. Whether he was teaching or telling the running back or wide receiver on what they need to do. But these were just some of the things that, from the problem that we had with him not showing up or showing up when he wanted to show up. And then when we brought it to his attention that in order to be a leader, you got to be here. In order for somebody to follow you, you got to show them that you are someone that they can follow. And when it was all said and done, it turned out to be the best thing that happened to us when we cut him and gave him a time to sit back and think about when it's not all about him. When did we realize Steve was special at running in Houston VA? And as we went through the practices for all that summer, and we knew when we started we were going to take Lake Taylor plays and bring them back to our team because that's all we knew, And the Houston VA was something Lake Taylor had been running for years. And with me being on the offensive side, I had to run through plays. I had to run plays from a running back position and go through the Houston VA. So it was something about Steve. Steve picked it up, and he got better and better each time we had practices. And it was something about he was smooth with running his Houston VA. And as you notice, that's a difficult type of offense. And Lake Taylor got it from the University of Houston Cougars, wherein the quarterback can hand the ball off, or the quarterback can fake hand the ball off and pitch it to one of the backs running to the right or to the left, and pretty much reading what the defensive player is going to do. So here it is, we giving this young man who's 12 years old all this information, and then also letting him make a decision whether he's going to hand it off or pitch the ball. That was deep. And some kind of way, it just worked out. And then we got to the point where he would fake the veer or handoff and throw a pass, which he could throw anyway. And so as we put this thing together, as it came together, it just seemed like at that time we were blessed to have a young man at that young tender age of 12 years old, and us being young at ourselves at 19, to come in and take what we gave him and taught him and bring this thing where this thing really became something that was special for us and our team. And what was special about it, we ended up making the playoff that year. So Steve just had this, I still say, a gift with the talent that he had, that once you put it before him to learn, he took it and ran with it. And that was, I thought, and I, to this day, was very special about Steve. So in our way, starting something for the first time, a football team, we were blessed to have a young man of that age to pick up what we taught him and became something really special. How did Mike Eason passing away affect me, many of the players that he tutored and taught? And again, Mike was 24 when he passed. He died from a heart attack. And he was working out. And again, him and I, you know, we were, I was finishing up my apprenticeship, and we had finished our apprenticeships. And it was a surprise to me when I found out and Mike had passed away, and his brother Leon came down to the yard the day after and brought the bad news. And with so many people that loved Mike in the community, he was someone that many of the kids looked up to. He was a role model. And it was so sudden. He was in good shape. And when you see things like that, and now many, many years later, a part of life, when you're born, at some point, you're going to die. But young people seeing this, and this young man that was teaching them and playing with them and joking with them, it was a time where they were hurting, you know. But when it's all said and done, you take this and you look back and see what type of person he is. And once we realized and he was gone and everything, we talked about and we go back and look at the good things that Mike represented. His legacy, the people that he touched, the things that he brought together. If it wasn't for Mike Eason, the pros football team, the name, would never exist. And if it wasn't for Mike Eason asking me to be a part of this team with him, I probably would never been involved in coaching Little League football. And it was a time when we were looking for leaders in the community. And both of us, especially Mike, realized, you know, we had something that we still had a love for the game and that we want to give back. So when Mike passed, okay, it just didn't stop with us as far as loving Mike and remembering Mike. We took the things that we learned from him. And in so many ways, and if you talk to the guys that I've seen in the past years, they always talk about Coach Mike Eason. and how much they love him and how much he touched their lives. So for me, being there and being a part of this thing, the pros with him, I look back, that was a special part to me, that we touched so many young people lives at that time, and we were young ourselves. And we just continue today and remember him for who he was and what he brought to us and the community. If there was one word to describe the first year of coaching the pros in the beginning, what would it be? And I thought about it. And for me, I could only think of one word. And that word was and is precious. It was a precious time in my life. And then even more looking back, how and what we did, the people, the relationships that we built, from the young men's parents, community leaders, people from the city of Norfolk. And it was just a time when things that I never even thought about, being a young man, but being in a role, in a leadership role where I was setting examples for my peers, these young men in our community, and still being young myself. So I look back, it's a precious time that I will always cherish. It always have a special place in my heart. From that first year that we started the pros from Compostela. And it was just special, special. My occupation, where I've been for the last 45 years, is BA System Norfolk Ship Repair, but really started off as Norfolk Shipbuilding Dry Dock when I went through my apprenticeship program, which I spoke of earlier. And from that time, it has changed. The name has changed 2 times. This will be the 4th name change. And so, yeah, but it's been over 45 years that I've been working at this shipyard.
First name Gary Whitaker, nickname Cub. I attended Lake Taylor High School. I graduated in 1982. Football jersey was 42, famous 42. Played running back and backup cornerback. I remember Mike he was a stand-up guy. He's always going to steer you to the right. Never to the left, but always to the right. Coach Terry, great guy. Principal, honest, straight up. Hard workers. That's what they were. Steve, pros quarterback. Mastermind with the veal. You couldn't find a hard-working guy than him. Hard worker. He's always got that football in his hand. If he mess up on something, the next day, he's going to get it right. He's going to get it right. His favorite football team, Minnesota Vikings. Fred Talkerton. I remember them days. Number 10. Something I learned about playing with the pros, you got to hold yourself accountable for what you do. And that's always been the motto when we was playing. They always want you to be on time. Do your job. It's never how you start the game. It's always about how you finish the game. And I still carry that momentum right now. It ain't how you start, it's how you finish. I'm married, retired from the Navy Yard, named Gary Whitaker, a.k.a. Cub, played running back for the pros. 1977, I am Mike Easton.
My name is Eric Short. Graduated from Lake Taylor High School in 1985. I had 2 jerseys. My first jersey number was number 55. I was a linebacker, defensive end, center, and a guard. And I later played running back, which I wore number 24. Well, Coach Mike Easton, he was extremely hard worker, for one. 2, he was very passionate about kids and his family and his job. My most fond memory of him is his preparation that he would have when he set out to do things. Coach Kelly, he is determined to allow you to reach your goal. It crossed my mind that I wanted to quit, and he just wasn't having that. He came to my home one day and he knocked on my door, and it was a Saturday morning, which that was the very day that we were supposed to be playing our game on that Saturday out at Lakewood. And he told my mom, I need him today. And she was like, well, you can have him. So when I noticed that he was at the door, I replied, I don't have any cleats. And before you know it, out of nowhere, I seen my very first high-top cleats, and I was playing in the game that day. I traded the high-tops in. That's when the high-top cleats had just came out for the Dallas Cowboy player at the time, Tony Dorsett. I wanted some Tony Dorsett cleats. But for the most part, that was one fond memory that I had of Coach Kelly, and which we continue to keep in touch, ever since that day. The planning and preparation, how I go about doing things. I later became a coach, and some of the things that we did back then, I do as far as how we put things together and how we deal with parents. Those are things that was most useful to me, and when I decided to put an organization together. You never see all the hard work he put in, because he make it look so effortlessly. But I would describe him as a technician. The way he go about his business, and he learns everyone's position, and when he goes to the line of scrimmage, he has respect of every individual on that team that's on the field at that time. When he runs that play, he does everything precisely the way it was drew up. But for the most part, he was always a very clever young man who everyone on the team respected him, and everyone throughout the community, some kids just gravitated, being around him during that time. He was definitely an elite quarterback at a very young age. He would soak everything up like a sponge. And beyond his years, it gave the people who were to follow him a blueprint to go by. The way you go about your business in the classroom, at home, and just everyday life. When things change, we got an opportunity to see some other things for him. The versatility that they had overwhelming speed that he would display on the field that a lot of people never knew about. You know, the leadership that translated from a quarterback position, that translated to wide receiver in clutch moments, not just being out there in clutch moments. It was as though whoever the coach wanted him to play, he was ready. Because, again, in them clutch moments, when he was playing in the defensive backfield, and that defensive backfield was loaded with talent all across the board. I mean, I could name at least 3 state players that was playing back there alongside with him. But despite that, he still shined. Anybody who was there can tell you the same thing. The pros legacy, I would say, it stems with the community, because they brought the community together and gave all the parents and a lot of the children places to go on Saturdays. Every time I see that field, I see that pros in my mind, that PRO. It just brings back memory. I'm a scaffold builder, slash welder, slash ship fitter in the ship industry. My name is Eric Short, and I am Mike Easy.
Hello, my name is Sylvester Bass Knight, better known as Bolo Snow. I went to Lake Teller 1981. Steve McArthur, man, he could throw a football when he was about 10, at least 50 to 60 yards from the hill. I was like, whoa, this young boy can really throw, man. I think he can out-throw Bolo. We don't want that to happen, right? So, but, you know, and then he started playing with the pros. Now, Steve lived right across the yard from me, so anything Steve want to learn new, come show me. And we be practicing. I mean, the Ville came out. Man, I know I ran the Ville at least about 200 times over there on Dead Spot School, bro. Hold up, Bolo, this one more time. We got to get it right, man. I said, that's my boy right there. And God knows, when it was time to run that deal, couldn't nobody do it better than Steve. It was calling him sweet, trying to look good and all that. It was Steve. It was him. It was his motion. All that. And then sometimes he don't pass it off or toss it. Woo! Unstoppable. Unstoppable. I met Steve in 1970. Steve McArthur, call him Machiavelli, quarterback brother right there, boy. I'm telling you, once that boy got a football in his hand, it was hard to get it out. Yeah, man, once Steve got that ball, it was hard to get it out of his hand, man. I'm telling you, we used to play catch. And throw the ball so long, man, I was catching out trying to throw it from here to Texas. Steve would run and get that Jake before I get to my house. Boop, right in the back of the head. Bolo! I was like, Jesus Christ, this boy's good. Yeah, but Steve was a small dude. He was small, he was younger than us. He was some big guys. I know I was a big guy. But, you know, he played with us. He was like kind of tender at first, but he came through, he just got tough. And then he started doing stuff that was unbelievable. He started making moves and people talk about Steve thinking sweet. It was sweet. Some sweet moves. Yeah. We ain't teach them that. Many dudes have you seen walking around, a young kid, 10, 12, 13, walking around with a football every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All days that end with a day, Steve had a ball in his hand. And he wanted to throw it to somebody. Most time it beat me. Bolo! Over there. got a new ball, huh? Yeah, been practicing. Know you had. Yeah. Go long, Bolo. Go long. I thought we was long. All right. Whoa. All right, I'm ready to get that. Come back. I can't throw him too no more. Yeah, boy. Steve was a hell of a football player. And he was a hell of a friend, too, man. Y'all love him. Machiavelli, you are the truth. It was about 1979. Steve played on the junior varsity team, took them all the way to the playoff. Now, they're in the playoff and they doing great. They come get Steve, 14 years old, put him on the varsity team behind like one of the #1 quarterbacks at that time, Troy Brown, which is Steve McArthur's first cousin. They ain't taking that from Troy, but Steve is a hell of a player. And then he went to varsity, turn it out, playing 4 positions. And then you gonna tell me this man ain't devastating? I'm gonna say his name one more time. Steve McArthur, better known to me as Machiavelli. Go long.
In 1979, I played junior varsity for Lake Taylor High School. It was my first time actually playing an organized sport. I played in my neighborhood, but never got a chance to play due to being too heavy. But when I first got to Lake Taylor, I met a lot of guys, especially at Barney Hatchett, Mike Boykins, John Cook. Well, my teammates who I played with for pretty much the next 4 years. But one that always kind of stood out, he was very charismatic. You could tell he was a quarterback, and he wasn't just another pretty face, or pretty boy as we would call him. Steve had a work ethic that was, I would call, second to none. He honed his craft. He was a very good quarterback, and especially running the veer offense. He was very good at what he did. And we were playing junior varsity together, our first home game, and Steve got out there. You can tell he was the team captain because he got out there, he ran that offense exactly where you're supposed to run it. And I believe Kirky Harrison at that time was our coach. And Andy Anderson, I think it was Coach Dunn, that was also there at the time. And I'll tell you what, man, we beat that team. I think it was Norfolk Catholic. We beat them like 35-0. And Steve was one of the guys that scored most of the touchdowns. And I got a chance to play offense a little, but I was the nose guard then. But I can tell you, for a bona fide fact, not only Steve was a good quarterback, he's a good person, had lots of jokes, and especially if he knew something about you, he would put that on you. And if you was in the back of the bus, you were late because he was one of those guys who knew how to throw a joke. But he was also a team player, and he was also a good friend. And I'm glad to know him. Don't get to see a lot of the guys much, but I can tell you, being in constant contact with Steve has brought back some great memories. And one of them was we were playing a game at home. I think it was Maury. And Steve shined like a star that game. And it was a tight contest. But Steve played his heart out. He was a good leader. He was a good quarterback. And I'm hoping that this will get played so he can know that I remember all of that. So, my name is Gary Hamilton. Graduated class of 83. Was on the state runner-up football team. On the 82 championship team. And I was a defensive tackle.
quiet and empty, the practice canceled. A key player had died, a 17-year-old senior named Al Hatchett.
It just doesn't seem fair.
Football coach Billy Morrow. Hatchett and another, Tony Grady, came to him earlier in the day and asked to borrow his car. They had to get home to pick up some equipment.
I told him there wasn't enough gas for him to get home, so I gave him $20 and told him to put some gas in my car and bring the change back. They didn't make it back.
A city garbage truck smashed broadside into the car as Grady tried to make a left turn off of Virginia Beach Boulevard and onto Raby Road. Grady received cuts and bruises. Hatchett was crushed. People who saw the wreck knew there was just no hope. At school, shock, grief, and only praise for Al Hatchett, a model student, popular, bright, and a good football player. He played both sides of the line as a defensive end and as tackle. Coach Bobby Williams.
You sometimes stop and think, good ones like this, unfortunate things can happen.
Al Hatchett would want us to regroup, to come back, and do everything that he had ever done as a player and as a person.
place to go. Just keep on, keep on.
fast food. Pretty much rather straight healthy.
Daddy.
You know how that goes.
Daddy!
Yeah, what, man?
Daddy.